Remember University of New Brunswick Professor Matthew Sears? You know, the guy who got triggered over a straight pride flag and wrote a letter to the village council over it? Well, he's back, and this time he's arguing that crowdfunding platform Patreon got taken over by the dregs of the right. This is, of course, the same Patreon that recently kicked off Sargon of Akkad and Milo Yiannopoulos. Let's check it out. I'm reporting pretty regularly on crazy American professors here on Campus Unmasked, but there are also some nutty charlatans in Canada, don't you worry. One of them is University of New Brunswick Classics professor Matthew Sears, who tweeted, "I feel bad for Patreon, honestly. Providing a platform to allow artists, writers, etc. to crowdfund projects that are otherwise not commercially viable is a great idea. Shame it got taken over by the dregs of the right and now serves as a vehicle for grifters." Okay, can we just pause for a moment and look at terminology here? I'm not really sure how one takes over a platform like Patreon. It's not like there's a market you can monopolize or anything. If someone's donating to your project, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not donating to something else. Anyway, Matthew's comment comes after Patreon banned YouTuber Carl Benjamin, or Sargon of Akkad, from its platform last week. Sargon, who is not far right like the media reported, was making more than $12,000 per month on Patreon. The company banned him for violating its hate speech policy when he said the N-word a few times and used a slur for gay people. Now, Patreon says it considers context, but it apparently didn't matter that Sargon was using those words to bash the alt-right by saying that the alt-right was acting like people they hate. It also didn't seem to matter that Sargon had not monetized the stream on which he said those words, or that he wasn't imperiling anyone's lives with his rhetoric, which was the takeaway for why Patreon bans users when CEO Jack Conte sat down with Dave Rubin just last year. Patreon might have banned only Sargon and a few other guys, but those weren't the only patrons the company lost. Podcast host Sam Harris, who had the 13th largest account on the service, announced that he was shutting down operations there, as did evolutionary psychology professor Jeffrey Miller. But back to Professor Matthew Sears, just a word to the wise. You might not be on the right side of the debate if you're backing up someone who compares Rebel Media merch and a Make America Great Again hat to a KKK hood and Nazi banner, and who, after US Press Secretary Sarah Sanders got kicked out of a restaurant, said, "Forget respectability politics, forget the politics of division, forget civility. Let's denormalize these folks and their ideas every single chance we get, including throwing them the hell out of restaurants, like we should have done from the very beginning." So right now you might be saying, okay, so a few nuts are on my side, but who cares? I'm still Team Patreon. But take a look at some of the accounts that are still on the platform. Far Left Watch has called out a podcast called The Guillotine, talking about weapons and cells. And then there's this dude who outright said on Patreon, "Each dollar you send my way is a bullet in the chamber of a gun we're building together. One that fires a massive 44 round at the heads of politicians and capitalists alike." I don't know about you, but I smell hypocrisy. It's in a lot of stories I cover, but it's particularly important when we're talking about stripping people of their livelihood. For Campus Unmasked, I'm Rob Shimshock. If you like this video and support our mission, please make sure to comment and subscribe. If something happens on your campus and you'd like us to investigate, send us details using the form on campusunmasked.com.